Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm trying another version of low carb bread today. This time I'm using peaches since they are in season. Unfortunately, the recipe that I was going to use calls for unflavored whey protein powder, and I don't have that on hand. So I'm combining some recipes together to try and get the best result. So since I don't have the protein powder, it said to add extra eggs, but they need to be at room temperature. So my eggs were not at room temperature, and I looked up and you can put them in warm water for 5 minutes, which I did. So they're just kind of hanging out here. They don't feel cold. So like they just came out of the fridge. So I think that worked. Hopefully it does what it's supposed to do in the recipe. Also, another recipe called for pecans. So I'm adding pecans to this recipe, and I think that's it. So far I have all my dry ingredients combined. I have 1.5 cups of almond flour. I did 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar sweetener substitute. It called for 1/2 cup, but I just think that to me they're concentrated sweet, and I just do not care for recipes that call for that much of that sweetener because it's too much for me. So I just did 1/4 of a cup. Let's see, I have a tablespoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So this is hanging out over here in another bowl, and I'm about to do my wet ingredients, which is going to be eggs and butter, and we're going to whisk those together. I'm pulling up my recipe here. Oh, and vanilla. I need to add vanilla to that as well. So I'm going to get these ingredients whisked together, and then I will come back and show you what the next steps are. Okay, I am back. So my dough is all mixed together here. So I took the eggs and beat them with the butter and the vanilla, and it says beat them vigorously until they're frothy. So I did that, added them to the dry ingredients, and then it said to let it sit for 2 minutes so that the coconut flour can absorb the moisture. So we're to that point now. It's wanting me to add the peaches. So I'm using no sugar added peaches from a can that I rinsed and drained, and I'm only using 10 peaches in this recipe. I saved the rest for another recipe. And it says to pat these dry, which I did 2 times. Patted them dry. I chopped them into small pieces and then tossed them in a dusting of almond flour to help absorb some of that moisture. So these have been sitting just with the almond flour on top. So we're just gonna add these in. And I'm also gonna add my pecans to this as well. Sorry for the loud bowl. Let me get these going a little bit, and then I'll stir in the pecans. And then we're just gonna throw these into a loaf pan that I have lined with parchment paper, and it's sprayed as well. And we're gonna bake this for about 50 minutes at 350. And this recipe has a glaze. I know I had the issue with my cinnamon bread. That actually ended up turning out fabulous. But this one has a glaze. Let me see what the recipe is for the glaze. So you're gonna put in 1/4 of a cup of powdered sweetener and 1.5 tablespoons of heavy cream, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and if needed, water. So I think I'll make that glaze. I don't know though, that says about as much as my icing was with my almond milk, so we'll see how it turns out. But I'll use the heavy cream instead of the almond milk this time. Okay, so this looks good. Got our pecans, our peaches in here. I'm going to get this in the loaf pan, get it in the oven, and then I will show you what our result is. Here's what our dough is looking like. Nice and combined. So I will be right back. Hi, I'm back. I just took the bread out of the oven. It turned out really well. It's nice and golden brown. So I'm gonna let this cool. I'm gonna make the glaze, and then as soon as I can put the glaze on, I'll show you how it all turned out. I will see you soon. Hey guys, I didn't come back on camera, but I wanted to show how this came out. The glaze did really well, and when I cut into this, it was so yummy. I'm so thankful that this recipe worked for me. I have a low carb peach pecan bread option. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.